Hi everyone, my name is Ravish and I teach philosophy and literature. And in this video, I will talk about one of the most beautiful book written by Martin Heidegger. And the name of the book, and the title of the book is An Introduction to Metaphysics. And this is a very beautiful book, even for those who study physics or people who loves to know about metaphysics, or let's say who loves to know about philosophy in general sense. Now, why I said physics, I will make a point there as well. Don't worry. At the end of this video, so this video, I've been reading this book for the past couple of days, like for 2 days now, and after reading this book, after finishing this book, because I'm interested in reading, being in time, and without reading this book, I cannot understand being in time. That's why I picked this book up, because before this I was reading Zorin Kierkegaard, but now I have moved on to Martin Heidegger, and I've been wanted to read Martin Heidegger for a very long time now, but finally I'm reading it. And in this video I will talk about a brief introduction, a kind of like how and what is there in this particular book, and what do you expect from this particular book. Now, I think most of you, if you're watching this video, then I believe you're aware of Martin Heidegger, because he's one of the most let's say phenomenal. He's one of the most important German thinker of the 20th century. He was also a phenomenologist. He was also a hermeneutics. Hermeneutics simply means someone who interprets Bible, or who interprets let's say religious books for that matter. Now, this particular book is important because Martin Heidegger says he says that the very first thing that Martin Heidegger says when you think about metaphysics, and it's very interesting thing. He says that when somebody thinks about metaphysics, when a person thinks about metaphysics, the first and the foremost question that we ask, or that a person asks, is why are there being at all instead of nothing, right? This is a very important question, because we often we come up with something like, we often think about such things like, why do we exist, right? Why is there being? Because there could be nothing, right? And if we think about it, let's say before everything, before anything has, before the beginning of anything, there was something which is called nothing, right? So it's obvious that there was nothing, and from that nothing something came up, right? Which became an existence, because now I'm connecting with physics now. So if we talk about let's say logical world, or logical physics, or logical let's say studies, then there's no place for nothingness, right? Because the moment we talk about something, right, it cannot be talked about nothingness, right? So when we try to connect something, like when we talk about air, water, or let's say house, or let's say any particular thing in our universe, in our solar system, which is known to us, has some kind of meaning, right? Has something in it. So there is some essence there. But Martin Heidegger says that that all these things, all these presence, and this presence, what he calls Dasein. Don't worry, I will make a video on being in time. In this particular book, he talks about Dasein. What is the concept of Dasein? Dasein simply means it's a German word. I think Dasein, something like that. So Dasein simply means existing, the presence, being there, and this being is a capital B. It's not the small being just existing. It's beyond that, because he goes beyond metaphysics. Heidegger goes beyond metaphysics. Now, Heidegger, restricted this concept of being in four different topics, in four different parts. And the first part is that he talks about is being and becoming. So he says the first is the being and becoming, and then he says that being and seeming, and then there's a being and kind of thinking, and then there's a being and out, OUGST, out. So don't worry, I will make this video. I'm planning to make this video in a series. I will finish the entire chapter one after the other. In all my previous in all my upcoming videos. So I will talk about all these topics. In later part of the video, or let's say in the later part of the upcoming videos. Now, he says the when we talk about metaphysics, right? So when we talk about being, when we talk about that something does exist, something has like, let's say, the essence of being. So he says it is the broadest, deepest, and most original thought, because and this thought of being, the capital B, can only be understood through philosophy. And he was very, when he was talking about, forgive me, it's very hot in Delhi. The temperature rises up to 42 degrees Celsius, and I do not have AC in my room. Well, enough of you will follow and subscribe to this channel and watch this video, then I might be able to buy a new AC. Anyway, so he talks about like the most fundamental question that he asks is why is there being at all instead of nothing, right? And he says this is the most original, this is the most let's say, in the broadest sense, in the deepest sense, it is the most original thought, right? And this can only be understood through philosophy, not through logical science, not through let's say, not through a logical interpretation of the world that we see in physics, right? Now there is one more point that he says, is that this philosophy is basically untimely. He says that the only philosophy can ask such deep questions, because it is untimely. And this untimely can also be understood from Nietzsche's perspective, because he was essentially an existentialist philosopher, and Nietzsche was the, let's say, he wasn't the father of the existential philosopher, but obviously Nietzsche is one of the most prominent existentialist philosopher, and he wrote a book called Untimely Meditation. And you can see there's a vibe in Heidegger, because Heidegger was highly influenced by Hegel, Nietzsche, even Kierkegaard, but most predominantly Nietzsche. So we will find Nietzsche's trace in most of the work of Heidegger. Sorry. Now this he called untimely, because philosophy is untimely, and he says that philosophy exists before time. I'm not talking about the time and space, just time, because it's obvious that the philosophy existed way before we found time, way before we created time. And through this, and through only this, through the logical, empirical, understanding of being, can only be understood through philosophy. Now he says, he says this is not an arbitrary process. This becoming, the becoming is not an arbitrary process that we saw in structuralism, because in structuralism, even in Derrida's deconstruction, you will see that all the words, all the sentences, they have arbitrary kind of way of understanding, because if we understand something because there's something, because this something is not something else, right? Like I gave you an example, like if there's a cat, we call it cat because this is not a dog, right? So this is a kind of arbitrary, all the statement, all the sentence is arbitrary in nature, and this is how we understand, how this is how all the language, all the thoughts comes to us. But he says no, this being is an event, and he talks about the event. I'm sure most of you know the event horizon, right? So event horizon is basically the beginning of our universe, kind of. So event is basically something which is grand, something which is which wasn't before, but now there was an event and then something came. So this is how he says the being was not an arbitrary, it was a kind of he says something like, he says like it was a kind of original, it was kind of originally leap. This is what he says, originally leap, which simply means a kind of event. And he says there was an event, and then from that event everything came in existence. So you see how I'm trying to connect here. Nothingness, he talks about nothing, right? Because there was nothing at the beginning, but then there was something, and in between that there was an event. That event happened, and then this something happened, and this something is called being. And that's when he divided this being into four different parts, like becoming. There's a becoming, and then there's a thinking, then there's a out, and then there is a seeming. Don't worry, I will explain all this topic one by one in all my upcoming videos. So I hope you got the idea of like a kind of metaphysics, because he goes beyond metaphysics and we will see all of it. Don't worry. But this is just an introduction video because I haven't read the entire book. But I hope you will find this video useful, and do consider subscribing. And I will definitely bring more videos on Heidegger, because now my interest lies into Heidegger, because I have read so many existentialists, and this is the one that I have been wanting to read for so many for so many years now, and now I'm finally reading this book. So yeah, I will come up with the next video. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one.